In our first part, we established the bedrock of the ideal city, a de-commoditized, three-tier land system. We used Tier 3 market premiums to cross-subsidize Tier 1 public housing, while utilizing Tier 2 community land trusts, CLTs, to strip away land speculation. This ensured that housing costs are strictly locked at no more than 25% of a resident's income. This system is held together by 4 core policies: breaking social barriers through mixed development, maintaining fiscal health via regular audits and equilibrium funds, and ensuring transparency through civic participation. And all these can be monitored and checked by AI Public Trust Platform. Simply put, from an economic perspective, we transformed housing from a speculative commodity into social infrastructure. But once the affordability equation is solved, we encounter a second, hidden form of exploitation: distance. If you save on rent but spend 3 hours every day trapped in traffic, you aren't living in an ideal city, you're living in a time prison. The financial books are balanced, but the debt of time remains. If the first part was about redistributing wealth, this second part is about redistributing space. We're going to answer: what kind of urban form allows the work to come to you, rather than you chasing the office? How can we ensure every resident has both ample money and ample time? You're walking down a quiet street in the ideal city. The morning sun filters through the trees. There are no blaring horns, only a gentle breeze. You aren't frantically sprinting to catch a shuttle or a bus. Research indicates that the global average one-way commute is approximately 40 minutes. In metropolitan regions like the New Jersey-New York area, a single trip during peak hours often exceeds an hour. This means the average urban resident spends a staggering 20 full days a year simply sitting in traffic. In the ideal city, we are here to challenge this status quo. The mission of this episode is simple: to make the commute disappear and let life return. The core logic behind this is the living cell, a 15-minute lifestyle centered on economic viability and everyday convenience. Why do we call it a cell? In biology, a cell is the smallest unit of life. It's a self-contained system. It breathes and processes nutrition independently. Compare that to traditional cities. Most of them function like a dense, suffocating mass. To find nutrition, meaning jobs, services, and community, you're forced to travel across the entire city. It's inefficient and exhausting. Our vision for the ideal city changes that. We see the city as a grand organism made up of many self-sufficient living cells. The core logic of each cell is simple: economic viability plus daily convenience. Instead of one giant, sprawling mess, we divide the city into these basic units, each with a radius of 0.75 miles. This isn't a random number, it's the golden limit of human walking. At a steady pace of 3 miles per hour, a 15-minute walk covers exactly this distance. By partitioning the city into these individual cells, we ensure that every resident has everything they need to thrive within a short walk. When the cells are healthy and self-sufficient, the entire city, the whole organism, thrives. In this living cell, the traditional distinction between suburbs and downtown no longer exists. The conventional urban ailments, soul-crushing commutes, and the rigid separation of functions are completely dismantled. At the heart of every cell sits a multifunctional transit-oriented development, TOD, complex. High-speed public transit links these cells together, ensuring maximum efficiency on a citywide scale. Every living cell follows a structural logic defined by a mixed-use TOD plus 15-minute neighborhood model, organized into 3 high-performance rings. First, let's enter the heart of the cell, the inner ring. This is the center of efficiency, a high-density, high-vitality zone within a 1,300-foot, approximate a quarter-mile, radius of the TOD hub. Within this footprint, we have meticulously allocated land use. 20% is dedicated to the central TOD mixed-use tower, nearly 40% consists of mixed-use blocks radiating from the hub, and the remaining 30% is preserved for public plazas, pedestrian malls, and pocket parks, ensuring ample, breathing room amidst the high-density environment. Let's look at the central TOD tower. Typically standing 15 to 20 stories, it functions as the city's powerhouse, starting from 2 levels below ground. This is the multimodal interchange for subways and microtransit, allowing for seamless travel between living cells. It also integrates logistics interfaces, subterranean supermarkets, and smart parking systems. The first 3 floors above ground hum with local life. The ground floor features retail, pharmacies, and convenience stores, while the second and third floors offer diverse dining, entertainment, and community service centers. Moving upward, levels 4 through 8 serve as growth spaces, housing municipal agencies and corporate offices. We have specifically reserved the 7th and 8th floors for low-rent co-working spaces tailored for SMEs. The upper reaches, levels 9 through 15, are dedicated to public rental housing and youth apartments, allowing young professionals to live at the very doorstep of the transit network. Even more compelling is that every setback and rooftop has been transformed into community sports courts, sky gardens, or cafe libraries. You can even lease a garden plot here to experience the joy of farming in the clouds. Stepping out of the central tower, we enter the TOD mixed-use peripheral blocks. These 6 to 10-story clusters act as a transition zone between the high-rise hub and the outer neighborhoods. If the TOD tower is the engine, these blocks are the cell's service desk. They house functions the tower cannot fully accommodate, such as large-scale community hospitals and administrative offices. The residents here are primarily hyperlocal professionals, entrepreneurs and talent who work right where they live. The vertical logic remains rigorous. The rooftops are social venues with gardens and open-air event spaces. Levels 7 to 10 are high-mobility youth apartments. Levels 4 to 6 support business operations with various co-working studios, and levels 2 to 3 provide city-tier services like community healthcare. Returning to the ground level, you find a fully porous public interface. Flagship stores and lobbies are woven together by pedestrian corridors that seamlessly connect the transit station to the surrounding greenways. Next, we move beyond the efficiency-driven core into the middle ring, spanning a radius of 1,300 to 2,600 feet, approximate half a mile. While the core is the engine, the middle ring is the social gravity center. Here, buildings generally maintain a height of 6 to 10 stories, shifting the focus from hyper-efficiency towards social cohesion and community warmth. As a residential employment belt, the middle ring prioritizes live-work balance and multi-generational care. Residential use increases to 40% to 50%. We primarily utilize a mix of community land trust, CLT, shared equity housing, and public rental units, ensuring that the people who serve the community can truly afford to own a home here. Each residential block is designed as a self-sustaining micro-ecosystem. The fifth facade, the roof, is no longer an afterthought. It is covered with solar arrays and communal laundry drying areas. Neighbors interact in shared balconies and rooftop allotments, realizing a true sharing of energy and space. Looking down the floors, levels 9 and 10 provide rental housing for long-term service workers. Compared to the core, the proportion of rental housing decreases here while CLT shared equity homes increase significantly, occupying levels 4 through 8 alongside integrated community centers. The first 3 floors form the service pedestal, where daycares, community canteens, and small clinics are tightly packed. We also specifically encourage a live-work, self-employment model, where shop owners live directly above their businesses. This creates 24-hour vibrancy on the street and forms a perfect closed loop for the microeconomy. Finally, we cross the 2,600-foot threshold into the outer ring, extending to a radius of approximately 4,000 feet, approximate 3/4 mile. This is the city's breathing belt, a self-replenishing zone and an anchor for major urban functions. In the outer ring, the urban fabric shifts from compact to expansive. Roughly 35% of the land is zoned for low-density residential, featuring townhomes, quiet courtyards, and dedicated senior living facilities that allow life to return to nature. Crucially, the outer ring carries the cell's broader civic mission. It hosts large-scale, urban anchors, from landmark museums and galleries to vibrant stadiums and regional commercial centers. These are no longer crammed into a congested city center but are distributed along the cell's edge, served by efficient transit systems that support multiple neighboring cells simultaneously. Between these grand structures, the outer ring houses the cell's production and R&D engines. Nearly 1/3 of the land is dedicated to urban agriculture and research, including large-scale community farms and vocational laboratories. Adjacent to these is the Circular Industrial Park, which handles internal remanufacturing through woodshops, 3D printing labs, and material reclamation facilities. Despite being on the periphery, convenience remains absolute. Wide bike greenways and stormwater parks, bioswales, weave the outer ring together. Microtransit stops are threaded along these green corridors, ensuring that even if you are living at the furthest edge of the cell, you are never more than a 1,000-foot walk from the nearest station. The outer ring is where the grand urban narrative and the microscale of individual life finally reach a perfect equilibrium. After a quick ride on a shared bike, you pull up to your building. Your office is located right here on the 9th floor of a TOD, transit-oriented development, complex. You might wonder, why are companies so willing to trade their high-profile CBD addresses for a spot in these living units? It isn't just about the vibe. A government-led, decentralized incentive system drives it. First, there are the tax levers. The city offers a 5% to 10% business tax break for companies that establish satellite offices in mixed-use residential zones. There's even a property tax credit available if a company allows its employees to check in from local community hubs instead of commuting to a central headquarters. Second is planning mandates. In an ideal city, every major development is required to reserve 10% to 15% of its floor space for small and medium-sized enterprises. If a project achieves a healthy jobs-to-housing balance, keeping that ratio within 1 to 1.2, the government grants a bonus to the building's floor area ratio, FAR, allowing developers to build higher and maximize their investment. Finally, we have digital governance. The city maintains a real-time urban office map that tracks and displays vacant spaces across the grid. They've even implemented a smart commute credit system. If a company uses distributed offices to reduce the average employee commute to under 25 minutes, it earns carbon credits. These credits can then be redeemed for advertising subsidies or further land tax reductions. The takeaway is simple. The ideal city isn't about forcing everyone to work from home. It's about ensuring the workspace follows the people, rather than making the people follow the office. You might be thinking, between cutting corporate taxes and building all these public facilities, isn't the government just losing money? Actually, it's quite the opposite. This is the ultimate masterclass in fiscal management. First, it saves a fortune in infrastructure costs. The traditional, centralized CBD model forces the government to pour billions into expanding subways and widening highways just to survive the morning and evening rush hours. By encouraging people to work locally, the public expenditure on transit maintenance and energy consumption drops significantly. Second, it revitalizes the local economy. When people work within their own neighborhoods, their daytime spending stays there. Local cafes, restaurants, and small shops can actually thrive, creating a tax base that is more diversified and far more stable than one reliant on a single downtown core. Finally, there is the matter of social resilience. This polycentric model ensures that the city doesn't suffer a total system failure during extreme weather or public health crises. Because each cell can operate independently, the city gains an unparalleled level of social security. 5 p.m. Clocking out. There are no suffocating subway cars and no road rage. 10 minutes later, you're already home. In this city, green space isn't a luxury, it's a mandate. The code requires 10 square meters of greenery per person, with a public park within 500 meters of every doorstep. When nature becomes a fundamental right rather than a premium commodity, we finally achieve true equity in our quality of life. By stitching these self-sufficient living cell units together, we create the skeleton of the ideal city. Life is walkable within the cell, while the high-speed subway and BRT system connect these cells. At the cell edging connections, where these units meet, you find the heartbeat of the city, the museums, the stadiums, and the central parks. This is the ideal city. It isn't some unreachable utopia. It's a scientific model, calculated through data and driven by logic. It is the pursuit of the ultimate equilibrium between time, capital, and space. But this vision brings its own set of hard questions. If a city is truly affordable and efficient for the common citizen, will private capital still be incentivized to intervene? Without the lure of hot money and profit-seeking investment, can a government maintain the financial stamina and the long-term vision to build it? And can high-density living and personal comfort truly coexist in permanent harmony? The equations of the ideal city can solve for the numbers, but they can never fully account for the volatility of human desire or the insatiable nature of greed. So, what about you? What does your ideal city look like?